Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulil Kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. If Brother Sajid or somebody can confirm to me that we have appropriate audio. Okay, Jazakumullah khair. Okay. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد كل نفس ذائقة الموت. وقال الله تعالى في مقام الآخر كل من عليها فان. صدق الله العلي العظيم. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. So today we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about definitely some more stories, but it's going to be a little bit more of a serious topic, right? It's definitely for the families, and inshallah we'll still learn a lot, but this is basically in line with all the stuff that's going on. You know, again, as much as we try to tune out of what's going on, invariably we read the news, people talk about it, and I'm seeing that it's beginning to affect a lot of people. It's affecting me. You know, I'm in a profession that deals with this. So the current pandemic that's going on is making people scared, and rightfully so. You know, we're hearing stories about people getting sick, people not having the the country or the hospitals not having enough resources to treat the sick people, and we're hearing of people die, right? And what is even more scarier is that, you know, usually death is something that is thought that's going to happen to people who are older, but what this illness is doing is it is really not differentiating. You know, we're hearing of a lot of younger people getting very, very sick and sometimes even passing away from it. So all of a sudden, you know, we start feeling uncomfortable because what if, you know, I'm going to go through something like this? You know, what if I get sick from this? What if I pass away from this? And those are uncomfortable feelings, and those are very valid questions because, you know, it appears to be going everywhere. A lot of times when stuff like this happens, it usually affects some, you know, population of the society, usually the poorer people, but this thing seems to be rampant, doesn't differentiate between royalty, movie stars, basketball players. It's affecting a lot of people. So it's making us uncomfortable. So today, we're going to talk about something which is very interesting. First of all, before that, why do we feel uncomfortable about death, right? Why do we feel uncomfortable about death? The reality is we feel uncomfortable about anything that we don't know much about, right? For example, you know, if you were going to travel to, say, a different country, right? Let's just say you're traveling to Africa or, you know, England, and you've never been there. Let's just say you never sat or flew on a plane. So now, and you're going to go alone. You're going to be uncomfortable. Like, I've never been to the airport. I've never sat in a plane. I've never traveled, you know, in a plane. Never been to England. What's going to happen to me? So there's going to be an anxiety related to that travel, and it's natural. But if someone comes and tells you, hey, don't worry about it. I've been there and I've seen it. Let me tell you exactly what's going to happen. You go to the airport, you know, you check in, and then you go to the security line, and then you put your baggage in the X-ray machine. Make sure you don't have a knife there. Make sure you don't have some water in there because they're going to throw that out, or they're going to give you a hard time. Then you go up, you go to the plane, you find your seat, you put the seatbelt on. You know, if it's prayer time, you know, don't start calling out Allahu Akbar, Allah. You know, you're going to give a couple of people heart attacks. Don't do any of that. Just stay in your seat. You can pray in your seat, or if you get a chance, you can pray on the side, etc., etc. Then when you land down, you know, call these people. This is how England looks like. This is how their subway system, they call it, I guess, the tram station over there. This is how it looks like. This is the station you have to go to. So somebody gives you an entire guideline of what to expect. Then you start feeling a little comfortable. You say, you know, I can do this. I can do this. My friend went there, he did it, and he's told me exactly what to expect. I'm not as uncomfortable. So who is our true friend, our true guide, who has told us exactly what's going to happen to us when we die, during we die, and when we die, and after we die, what's going to happen? We know it all. None other than the truest of the true, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He described to us exactly, the Prophet of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam described to us exactly what's going to happen to us when we die. So we're not uncomfortable. This is not something that is unexpected. Right? We know that death is 100%. You know, they're coming out with all these statistics about 3.4% dying, 80% being saved, 70. The reality is death is 100%. Now, it may not be now. It may be, 10, 20, 30, 40 years, whatever the time it is. But the reality is, for every human being, one thing is for sure, he's going to die. So when we know that we're going to die, we shouldn't feel uncomfortable talking about death, right? And Rasulullah did tell us about remembering death, right? He did said, remember often, or try to remember, or remember often the destroyer of pleasures, right? So the more we remember death, the more we'll be comfortable with it. And the more we learn about it, then the more it'll give us a sense of ease. So what exactly happens when a person is dying, right? So when a person starts to die, and that could be any scenario, right? It could be, a natural scenario where a person is just dying off a natural cause. It could be a disease. It could be a virus. It could be pneumonia, or it could be an unnatural cause. A person can die in a crash, in a plane crash, in a car crash. A person can drown. Whatever the scenario is, right? There's a standard thing that happens to everybody when they're dying. The first thing that immediately happens as a person is dying is he is now transitioning from the current world where, he can see, he can hear whatever's going on around him, to a different world. The world of the unseen opens, right? We have a belief that there is a world that we don't see, the world beyond the current world that we're in, where the angels exist, where the heavens are there, where the hell is there, the paradise is there. So we have a belief that there is a world beyond what we touch, feel, and see. So this starts to open in front of us, right? And we are now greeted by angels. Now, these are the angels that used to be around us and with us throughout our lives, as long as we were believing men and women who believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and who were true righteous people. Then these angels are with us, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, it will just come to me. Let me start with the hadith. So when Rasulullah says, this hadith is narrated in Imam Ahmad's Musnad and is read by Bara ibn Azib radiyallahu anhu. So Rasulullah tells us that verily, when the believing slave is about to depart this world and enter into the hereafter, meaning when he's about to die, angels come to him from the heavens with white faces, and their faces are as bright as the sun. Their faces are like the sun. Inna allazina qalu, that's the ayah. Inna allazina qalu rabbuna Allah, thumma istaqamu, tatanazzalu alayhimul malaika, alla takhafu wa la tahzanu wa abshiru bil jannati allati kuntum tu'adun. Right? Those who say our Lord is Allah and they are firm upon it. The angels come down, the angels descend upon them, and they say, don't worry at all. Don't fear, don't worry. We were your friends in this world, and we will be your friends in the hereafter. And you will be given the Jannah that you are promised. So they bring with them shrouds of paradise, right? Shroud is a cloth that covers you. So now they come with shrouds of paradise and with perfumes of paradise. And they sit with the person, and now he's seeing this. He's seeing these beautiful people, Now the people perhaps who are in the real life are looking at him, maybe short of breath, maybe coughing, maybe dying. But he's in a different world now. He's seeing something else. He's seeing this amazing scene of these handsome and beautiful individuals, that he can see as far as I can see. The angel of death then comes to him, and he sits by his head, and he says, "O pure soul, come out to the forgiveness and the pleasure of Allah." And then his soul comes out like the drop of a water flowing from a cup. Then he comes out very easily, very quickly. And the moment of death is just gone like that. And as soon as that happens, the person is now the soul of the person is taken, and now he's taken into the heavens. He's taken to the heavens, right? As he's taken into the heavens by the angels, Other groups of angels, they come out to greet this soul. They say, who is this pure soul? And the reply is, it is so and so, son of so and so. It is Muhammad, the son of Ibrahim, or whatever the name of the person is, and whatever the name of his father is, it is mentioned. And then they use the best names at which he was known on the earth. For example, a person was a good, righteous person who would go to the masjid, said, oh, the one who goes to the masjid, or oh, the one who used to speak the truth, or oh, the one who used to pray in the night where others used to sleep. So anyways, he's taken up, and they would address him with beautiful names. And then he goes to the lowest heaven, right? The soul is now at the lowest heaven, and then it is asked for the gate to be open, and the gate is open for him. And then he goes furthermore until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes a decree. He reaches the seventh heaven. The soul is now literally at the seventh heaven, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself makes a declaration, record the book of my slave in the Illiyun, right? So this is what happens to the soul of a believing slave, to a believing slave. And then when this honor is bestowed upon him, he's taken back to the earth, and then he's put back into his body. Yani after he's buried, now while all of this is happening, his janazah is prepared and he's now put in the ground, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, take him back to the earth, for I created them for him. I created them from the earth, and I shall return them to it, and I shall take them out from it again. So his soul is now returned back to the earth. And then the two angels come and make him sit up. So this is that. Let's just say that was phase one. And then the second phase will be what's happening in the grave. Now, there's details of what happens to a person who doesn't believe. And those are very, very scary details, right? And I'm not going to go too much into detail with that, because I want to concentrate more on what happens to the soul of a mu'min. But definitely, as you can imagine, it's the opposite, right? The angels are not his soul is not taken out in a gentle manner. The angels say, who is this evil soul? And it's replied, he's so-and-so and the son of so-and-so. And he's used by the worst name by which he was known in the earth. And then he's taken to the lowest heaven, and the door is not open for him. And the Prophet ﷺ recited a few Quranic ayat, and he says, from the gates of heaven will not be open for him, and they will not enter paradise until the camel goes through the eye of a needle. Yani, it is something impossible that the camel can never go through the eye of a needle. So therefore, they will not be entering paradise. And then the declaration is made by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, record the book of my slave in Sijjin, yani the book which records the deeds of the people who did not believe. And then the soul is just thrown down and returned to his body, and then the two angels now come and make him sit up. So that was phase one, right? Phase one. Next, phase two is the person is now in the grave. His soul is now in the body, and the next session begins, which is a session of questioning. The Prophet ﷺ says in the hadith, it's also again in the hadith, in the grave, the Munkar and Nakir, the two angels of questioning, they come and they ask the question. What is the first question? The first question is, Man Rabbuka? Who is your Lord? Ma Dinuka? What is your religion? And Man Nabiyuka? Who is your prophet? So these are the three questions that are asked. Now, a person can say, look, this is simple. I got this. I mean, I know Allah is my Lord, I know Islam is my deen, and I know Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is my messenger. So I'm going to ace this test. It doesn't work that way. The reality is the answers that you're giving isn't necessarily an answer of knowledge. It is not an intellectual answer. It is an answer of how a person lived his life. If a person truly lived his life for the sake of Allah, if a person truly followed the deen of Islam, if a person truly followed the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, then those answers become easy. They come out naturally. One of the things is coming to my mind. The Prophet ﷺ said about Umar radiallahu anhu, when the angels are going to question him, his confidence is going to be at such a level, he's going to say, my Lord is Allah, who is your Lord? Subhanallah. So he is going to be at such a level where he's going to question the angels back. And that is Umar radiallahu anhu, right? But for a mu'min who believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, these answers are going to be easy for him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to give him firmness, and he's going to be able to answer those questions, right? And as for the person who didn't believe, as for the person who was a hypocrite, a person who was a hypocrite, who didn't really have faith in his heart, but yet acted like he was a Muslim, right? He was going to say, oh, I don't know. I heard the people say something, so I said the same. Then what will happen to them? What will happen to the believer and the disbeliever is a very, very different scenario, right? Now, once the questioning is done, the angels will say to him, we knew that you were a believer. We already knew that you're a believer. And then this is something that I relish when I read, Then a gate to the paradise will be open for him, right? So now a person, is in his grave, maybe lying down in whatever, shape or form he's lying down. Now a gate to paradise will be open for him, and he's going to be able to see it. He's going to actually be able to look at his position in Jannah. Just imagine the feeling then. He will feel the rest, the provision, the blessings, and it'll be told to him, this is your place until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala resurrects you again, until you're raised again on the day of Qiyamah. And then, not only that, he's going to be shown his place in hell. And it'll be said to him, this would have been your place if you had disbelieved. And if you didn't obey Allah. If you had disbelieved, this would have been your place. But now Allah has granted you refuge from it. You're safe from it and you've ended up in paradise. Just think about what's going to happen that time, right? Just think about us being in that scenario. And alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has shown us the window to paradise. And we're like, whew, man, that was close. Alhamdulillah, I'm so glad I didn't eat that whatever, or I didn't drink that whatever. Or, alhamdulillah, I didn't look at that thing that I wasn't supposed to look. Alhamdulillah, I remember on that day I could have lied, or I could have taken that money with interest. Even though it was hard, I didn't do it. I'm so glad I didn't do it. I'm so glad I didn't do it. Otherwise, that would have been my final destination. Now, as for the person who doesn't believe, it's going to be the opposite. It's going to be the opposite, right? The gate of hell is going to be open for him. Now, he's going to be tortured. Adhab al-qabr is what they call it, right? It is the punishment of the grave. It's something real. A person is punished in the grave, he will utter a scream that will be heard by everybody. Everybody except jinn and men. All the animals and all the creation will hear it. And then the gate to hell will be open for him, and that will be shown to him. And the grave will constrict him until his ribs intermingle. So this will be his final destination. The hell will be shown to him, and then to add insult to injury, he'll be shown the door to paradise, and he'll be shown his place in paradise. And he would be told, this is what you would have got had you obeyed Allah. Had you been guided by Allah, this is what you would have got. So imagine the remorse that a person would have on that day. Imagine the intense, fear and the intense remorse, the sadness that will overwhelm a person. It's like, why? Just for that measly dunya. Why did I drink that alcohol? It was just a 5 or 10 minute or, a few minutes worth of pleasure. Why did I do that deed? Why did I not just hold myself in the dunya? All those things are going to come to his mind. So that's why it is said that the grave will either be a garden of paradise or one of the pits for hell, right? It'll either be a precursor, a preview, a trailer to paradise, or it will be a trailer to hellfire. Now, one question a person can ask, okay, what about those people, whose bodies are burned or who drown or who really not buried in the grave, right? Somebody who's eaten by a wild animal or something. What about them? What happens? So understand that this is Hayatul Barzaqiyah. This is a completely different realm, right? We don't know exactly what happens. We have a belief that this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to do. And this is going to be a realm, it's a metaphysical realm. And this is the way Rasulullah has described it to us. Now, whether a person is within the grave and this happening to him, or a person is in a separate realm, that is exactly what's going to happen to him. He's going to see this, he's going to feel this, the punishment is real, the scenes of the grave are real, the sights of the paradise that he's shown are real, as well as the sights of the hellfire. Now, this is what happens to the believer, and this is what happens to the disbeliever. And now then we go into resting mode. Alhamdulillah, we're done with the world. You don't have to wake up 7 a.m. in the morning, get ready for school, or get ready for that job that we don't want. They're not looking forward to go to every day. No worries about cleaning the house. No worries about taking care of the kids, changing our diapers, whatever it is that we do over here. It's all over. we're resting there. We're just waiting until we get raised up again, And then again, when the day that the trumpet is blown, everybody is resurrected. And then, of course, there's a long discussion. We all get up. We're sort of rubbing our eyes, getting up and saying, okay, who's woken up from our sleep? And then everybody's gathered. The resurrection begins, etc. So that's maybe another story for another day. Now, alhamdulillah, now that we know how the death of a believer is, we know exactly what's going to happen, inshallah, whatever the scenario is, whether it's a scenario of a illness, whether it's a scenario of an accident, whether it's a scenario of just somebody dying in their sleep naturally, regardless of whatever it is, inshallah, we'll be greeted by angels. Inshallah, we'll be taken up in the heavens. Inshallah, we're going to be, perfumed and shrouded and honored in the seventh heavens, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself will declare for us that he has forgiven us. And inshallah, when we go back in the grave, we'll be able to answer our questions appropriately, and then we'll be rested. So the reality is, death is not something that we need to be worried about. That is something that the hadith says it is a gift for the believer. It is a gift for the believer, right? Now, there's another beautiful hadith, right? Another beautiful hadith that Rasulullah says, this is a Sahih hadith, and it's in Sunan Ibn Majah. And Aisha radhiyallahu anha reports that the Prophet said, whoever loves to meet Allah, Allah loves to meet him. Right? Whoever loves to meet Allah, Allah loves to meet him. And whoever hates to meet Allah, Allah hates to meet him. So we all, alhamdulillah, love to meet Allah, right? But death, again, is uncomfortable, right? In order to do that, we have to go through the process of death. So the Sahaba, they asked Prophet a beautiful question, right? Because, alhamdulillah, the Sahaba were intelligent. They knew exactly the question that we may have. They asked him the question, Ya Rasulullah, does hating to meet Allah mean hating to meet death? For all of us hate death, right? Death is not a comfortable scenario, right? Nobody seems to be comfortable when dying, right? In general, when you see people dying, or in general, death is associated with discomfort. So naturally, people don't want to die, and you shouldn't want to die, because if somebody actually wants to die because they're tired of life and they want to kill themselves, that's haram, that's suicide, right? So disliking death is natural. The Prophet, what did he reply? No. Rather, it is only at the moment of death, meaning we only hate the moment of death. But as soon as that death happens, if he's given the glad tidings of mercy and forgiveness from Allah, then he loves to meet Allah, and Allah loves to meet him. And if he's given the tidings of punishment of Allah, then he hates to meet Allah. So obviously he's now scared. He hates to meet Allah, and Allah hates to meet him. So for a believer, death is something that we look forward to in a good way. Not the moment of death necessarily, but what happens after death. Because after death is going to be absolute peace. It's going to be absolute goodness. I mean, that's where the real party is going to start, right? Now, finally, I'm going to end with two things. Right? I'm going to end with two things. Because of, again, what is going on, people are scared. What if I die in this situation, in this pandemic? There are people dying, there are Muslims dying. What's going to happen, right? So this is, again, another beautiful hadith, right? Aisha radhiyallahu ta'ala anha, she reports that the Prophet ﷺ said about plagues. He mentioned about plagues. Now, plague, again, is a different disease, but inshallah, we can take a pandemic perhaps as a plague, and Allah knows best. But a plague is a different kind of disease, but it is also a transmittable disease, right? People would die from plague, and it would transfer from one person to the other. So what did Rasulullah say about the plague? He said, it is a punishment that Allah sends upon whoever he wills. So it is a punishment. However, there's an exception. But Allah has made it a mercy for the believers. Any servant who resides in a land afflicted by plague, remaining patient and hoping the reward from Allah, knowing that nothing will befall him except what Allah has decreed, will be given the reward of a martyr. Will be given the reward of a martyr, right? So in this hadith, Rasulullah ﷺ is explaining to us that yes, a pestilence, a communicable disease, a mass illness, something like the plague, a plague specifically, can be a punishment for Allah, but for the one who believes, if he is patient, and if he doesn't leave the land, meaning if he's not trying to escape the plague, because again, that can potentially spread the disease from one place to the other, right? So that's the whole stay in your place, don't travel, social distancing. That's where everything is whatever they're mentioning right now. So if a person remains patiently in his place, hoping the reward from Allah and knowing nothing is going to affect him. And again, the other thing is he should be very comfortable. He said, nothing is going to happen to me except what Allah wills. Then Allah will give him the reward of a martyr. And what is the reward of a martyr? Right now, this could specifically be talking about the martyrs who are actually fighting for the sake of Allah and they died. Right? This could specifically be talking about those martyrs, but the Prophet ﷺ used the word martyrs, the word shaheed, for multiple people who are crushed under a wall are shaheed, people who die in the plague are shaheed, people who drown are also shuhada. So there are many categories of shuhada, but what happens to the souls of martyrs? Now they have a little different ending, right? Truly the people who went for the sake of Allah and who died, who were killed in the battle when they were fighting for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, their end is actually the most beautiful. We talked about the end of what happens to people in the graves when they're waiting. The martyrs are somebody completely different, right? The shaheeds, their lives are completely different. What happens to them is the souls of martyrs are alive. This is again in a hadith, right? Reported by Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. The souls of martyrs are alive in the bodies. The Prophet ﷺ is explaining that they don't die. And this is proven from the Quran, right? Do not call those who die in the sake of Allah dead. So the souls of martyrs are alive in the bodies of green birds. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts them in the bodies of green birds who have their nests hanging from the throne of Allah. So they actually go and get to be living underneath the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, the throne of Allah, how it is and where it is, etc., that is beyond our understanding and capability. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam Rasulullah has informed us that this is what's going to happen to them. Okay. So after they're there, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to ask them, right? They're now like freely roaming around in the paradise. They're able to eat anything they want. They're able to just actually be physically roaming around in the paradise and eat from its fruit, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks these people, the shaheed, is there anything else that you want? Is there anything else what you want? So they're going to say, oh Allah, what else? What more can we desire? We eat from the fruit of paradise, from wherever we wish. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks them the question again and again. Right? He asks them the question 3 times. And then when they see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants the answer, they say, oh Allah, we wish. So this is the shuhada that replying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala what their desire is. Oh Allah, we wish that you can return our souls to our bodies so that we can be martyred in your way once again. So they recognize that the position of a shaheed is so high that they are fearless of death. They're telling to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you really want to know what we want, is we want to go back and we want to die one more time. The death that we are scared about, the death that we worry about, they're saying, give us a chance to go back to life and die one more time in your way so that we will be given this honor again. SubhanAllah. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees this, He sees that they're satisfied and they have no needs, so He leaves them to enjoy. So this, my dear brothers, sisters, and young friends, is the story of death. Is a story of death. Death is uncomfortable. Death is a topic that we don't like to discuss or think about. However, the reality is death for a moment is a gift. And it's not something that we have to be scared about. It's not something that we have to worry about. What we have to worry about is the fact that are we prepared enough? MashaAllah, a brother over here made a comment. We're also uncomfortable because we aren't prepared. So the reality is the thing that we need to be scared about more is not death, but are we ready to face Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Do I have enough amal? Do I have enough good deeds? When I die and when I meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala going to be happy with me? That is a question that can scare us. That is a question that should scare us. And that is a question that should make us do more good deeds. That is a question that should wake us up in the middle of the night worried and bow down and prostrate in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is something that we need to be worried about, not death. We don't need to be worried about death in of itself. We don't need to be worried about any specific illness or disease. Of course, we want to take precautions. Of course, we want to eat, drink, and live a healthy life. But the idea of being worried and scared about death as a Muslim, we shouldn't have to go through that. We shouldn't have to be anxious. We shouldn't have to be in that quagmire of what if it's going to happen to me? What if I'm going to be affected by the virus? What if I'm going to die from it? If we do, we do. Because if that's not going to kill us, something else is, right? Regardless of whatever the scenario is, we are not going to live forever. That's the truth. So we need to get comfortable with the fact. And the only way we can do that is two ways. One is we read about it, we understand, and we get more comfortable with what's going to happen. And two, we start preparing for it. And finally, I'm gonna end with this. I know I'm going a little over time. One of the scholars, he mentioned a beautiful story. A young man goes to the sheikh and he says, "Sheikh, death worries me. And when I think about death, I get very, very scared. And the thought makes me extremely worried and scared." So the sheikh tells him, "Okay, I want you to read more salah, and I want you to fast more, and I want you to do more dhikr." And he does that for a few days or a few weeks. And he comes back and he says, "Sheikh, now I'm looking forward to that. I don't know what happened to me. I didn't do anything different except the things that you told me. Not only am I not scared of death, now I'm looking forward to death." The sheikh explains to him that before you were not prepared. Before you didn't know, you knew that you didn't have much sent over for you before you died. But now, mashallah, when you're doing the good deeds, you know that I am prepared. What I have sent forth is going to greet me. So now you're more comfortable. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the death of a mu'min. May He subhanahu wa ta'ala give us a death on the kalima la ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. May He make for us our grave a garden of the paradise. May He subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from the fire. May He subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from His anger. And wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah bil ameen. And inshallah again, the last daily finale, I guess, is my son who comes in every day. But inshallah, tomorrow will be the last day of Emaan Rush and Stories for the Believers. Inshallah, after that, hopefully we'll continue with the different programs. Sheikh Saad will possibly continue, inshallah.
Like and subscribe.
He's going to definitely have a program over the weekend, and then inshallah we can talk about what we have planned for the future. Jazakumullah khair, inshallah. I will hope to see you tomorrow.
Yes. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.